Hey everybody, it's Christine of Twinkle Plans Her Day, and today I will be going over my finances, my budget for 2021 using some simple supplies, my Mildliners, my pencil, my eraser, and a ruler, and some graph paper. So a couple of weeks ago, I posted a reel about my December spending chart. This is last year's, and you guys had so many questions, so I thought I would make a video explaining how I got to this point. I'll doing December of 2021, and then I'm going to do a recap for the entire year. So to make the circles, I didn't even use a compass. I just used this pail that I had lying around. Last year, I used a Dunkin' Donuts cup or a Starbucks cup. So each side has a different size radius, and so it's pretty easy to get the circles for this chart that I'm going to create here. So as you can see, I wrote everything out in pencil before starting. I got the information for this chart right off my mobile app, my Chase mobile app. And I suggest that if you have a mobile app for your banking and you don't have it downloaded onto your phone, you definitely should. It has so many valuable tips and some information that you will use. I don't use cash. I only buy things with using a debit card. So every time I buy something or every time there's any kind of transaction, it's recorded for me. So I don't have to keep track week by week, day by day about what I spend. At the end of the month, I just go into my app and it's all there, and they put it in a chart for me and they categorize all my different spending. It somehow knows how much money I've spent on groceries, how much money I've spent on entertainment, and it's ridiculously accurate. You would think that how would they know that I purchased this for my car? Well, they just happen to know. I don't know how they know this, but they know that all my parking expenses go to my car, is in the car category or transportation category, things like this. So it's very valuable tool. And I could just go to the app and look at it every time I wanted that information. But I do like to have it in my planner, so I'm recreating it in my planner. For a couple of months, I couldn't get it to work, and it just gave me the numbers and not the chart. But I was still able to create the chart with just the numbers. But they started to put the chart up again. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a glitch in the system or if they just decided to do it again. A couple of months it wasn't there, but now it's back. Super happy to see it. And probably was just me not being able to find it. It is pretty hard to find. You go into, at least in the Chase app, you go into transactions, then all transactions, and then spending summary. And that spending summary has all your expenses into categories, and it tells you how much you've deposited and how much you've taken out, and the difference between each week, if you want to know if you've spent more than you've earned, etc. So it's such great information to have. And it goes back 6 months, but I do it pretty much every month. So I have the information through the whole year, so I don't have to go back each time to the app to find it. I should also add that this is just for my checking account. If you have other accounts, you can make a chart for that as well. You can keep a chart of your 401k. You can keep a chart of your child's 529s. Anything like that. I only have my checking account here because, this is a very public forum. I'm only going to do this account. This is a private account. I don't have this with my husband. He would never let me put this online if it was a joint account. It's just me and my own little, I love having an account separate from my husband. So this is just a personal thing, a personal one account that I keep track of. I don't keep track of 401k, or I do keep track of 401ks, but just not on my Instagram for sure. Just to make a little note of that. So I'm putting out coloring in the different sections, different colors, so they're easy to see. And sometimes when you're coloring it in with a Mildliner, and there's two sides to these Mildliners, just in case you're not familiar with these pens. One side is a regular felt tip marker, and the other side is a highlighter, like a chiseled tip, or one is a fine tip and one is a chiseled tip, I should say. And so I'm just using the chiseled tip to fill in the different gaps. And I try not to go over the pen too much, because then you'll get too much ink and you'll risk going through the paper. So if you're just careful and just do one pass, which is why you'll see I'm just trying to do one straight line each time. And if you do go over something twice and it does seem a little bit darker, you can just tap on it a little bit with your finger to keep the ink from pooling. You'll see me do that a couple times here. Let's see if I do it at the end of this. And I'll just tap it. See, I'm just tapping to keep the pooling to a minimum. But there's not that much ink in these Mildliners. It's not that kind of marker. I mean, there is ink, there's sufficient ink, but it's not the kind of ink that's just going to go through most paper. So you're okay. I just tap it to keep the pooling to a minimum. So then I'm going to use another color for the other side, starting with this like periwinkle kind of bluish purple, which is similar to what I did last year in December. In the summer, I tend to use like more reds and oranges, and in the winter, I tend to do these type of colors. And many times if I'm filling out a section and I'm noting that the section is particularly large for that month, let's say groceries is double the amount that you usually spend, I'll write a little note, was hosting a party, or was New Year's Day, or whatever, December is kind of obvious. I do buy a lot of food because it's Christmas and I host a Christmas party, so that's why groceries, and I'll just put a little note. I don't have to for December because it's kind of obvious to me, but if it wasn't, I could just write groceries, in parentheses, holiday party. So it just reminds me that I don't have to freak out if I spent that much. It would be normal for that time of year. Okay, so I skipped some of the sections, so you don't have to just watch me coloring these little sections too much. I'm finishing it up, and now I'm going to go over with pen and write in the different categories. One category is groceries. There is wellness, health and wellness, utilities, entertainment, and I'm using my eraser to erase the pencil marks. Then I have the total spending for the month. Now it's not the end of the month yet, but it's just going to be a couple more dollars that I spend before the end of the year. Today is like the 28th or the 29th. So don't suspect that anymore that I'll use my debit card the next couple days. So I'm just writing it in. That's my groceries. That's all. Groceries usually is the biggest part of my bill, of my spending each month. And then I'll fill in the different categories. And then I will have to wait for the ink to dry before I go over it with my eraser and erase those pencil marks. But it does smudge a little bit, you'll see, when I do, even when waiting. This is my shopping section, and the shopping this month also went a little bit overboard, but that's because it was Christmas and I was buying gifts, so I'm not really too worried about that. It also added another category, cash out, which is how much money you take out of your account. And it said $200, and I really didn't remember taking out $200 in cash, but it must have happened. Oh, I know what it was. Just as I'm filming this, I remember what it was. Yes, it was to get something from my mother-in-law. I totally remember now. It was for a gift card, but got it. See, everything is it can't go. It always tells you what's right. It does not lie. You can't forget things. I forget things, so I'm glad that the computer at least has my back and will remind me what I've spent and what I've earned. This is the cash out. Now, sometimes I use stickers from the budget book. And I use the little icons like the grocery cart for groceries and just put them in. But I wanted more of a clean look today. I just didn't want to use that many stickers. I will put a sticker on the upper right-hand side though, because I'd like a box to put out my final balance for the month. So that I'm going to wait till the end of December for writing out the balance. So I'll wait till the very last day for that at least, just in case I do use my card again. Okay, so moving on, the next part of my chart is to compare the last 3 months. So October, November, and December. I will compare how much I've taken in versus how much I've taken out. And I do this with a little chart here. I'll start writing in the months of the year. And I've already done this in pencil, so it's pretty easy. So on the left hand, I'm just writing down the numbers, like 1K, 2K, 3K, but depending on which account you're following, you might want to put like 20K, 30K, 40K, whatever it is you're tracking, a 52K, a 401, whatever it is. So I'm deciding what colors to use now for each section. And you can have a little chart on the side. You can always use, if you really wanted to be smart about it, you can always use green for money earned and red for money spent. But I change up the color scheme each month just because I don't want it to look the same each month. But it probably would be wiser just to use the same colors so that you don't have to keep putting a chart at the end. But I usually know it's instinctive to me. what colors I used. But yes, it would be probably better to use green for earnings and red for spendings. But here you go. So I'm just filling it in. And at the end for December, there's an overlap of how much I spent over how much I earned. Usually I save a little bit each month at least. I have a little bit left over, but December, since it's Christmas and I bought so many presents, as I always do, that last little section on top over December will be red. After I color everything in, I will use a red marker for that just to emphasize that I went over by a good amount this year. Okay, after erasing all those little marks and writing in the numbers for each month, I'm going to move on. And under this, I will put a notes section. I always have a notes section at the end for any reflections of what I could do better or what I did well. So I usually put a little line, I write notes, and another line, and then I'll just add in different things that happen because, my salary differs even though I'm a teacher, my salary differs every month. There's a lot of projects I do. I do have a lot of side hustles, and I can increase my hours or decrease my hours as I wish. It's a long story. It would be too much to explain, but my salary does change pretty much every month. It's never the same. So I put little marks, little comments, what I could do better. Or sometimes I just earn too much money, but I'm just burnt out at the end of the month. So I have to, write down it's not worth it. I have to decide, is working this many hours a month worth it to me to be burnt out? So there it is, my finished chart for December. And I'm going to take out, these are all my budget books. And I'm just going to take one to see if I can find a little box that says balance to put up at the end. But I just see a little box I don't want to bother looking for. I was hoping to find one right away that said balance, but I don't want to waste too much time. I want to continue on with my charts. So that's going to be it. I'm just seeing if there's anything in there in this book that strikes me that I can add to this page. Yes, and this is going to go on the back. And this is a recap of all the different, it's a sticker you write the balance for all your different accounts. So I'll put that on the back of mine and do that privately. And there's another sticker that I'll add to that, which is in the same lines. I speed up the camera a little bit at this point because me looking through books is pretty boring. So there's one that fits perfectly, and I'll fill that in at a later date. And then I'm ready to move on to the next portion of this video, which is my yearly recap. So I'm doing the same sort of thing that I did with December, but throughout the entire year. So I'm going to graph money in, money out for each month just for my checking. This is not my retirement account or savings or anything. It's just my checking account. The first one, I'm using graph paper. So if you're using graph paper, I'm using one square for each line that goes up. Okay. And I used these I cricketed out some. I have a Cricut machine, which I absolutely love, but you can use regular Happy Planner stickers or any stickers for the top for your title. I just using 2021. And I traced them out. I was going to color them in with Mildliners, but I think at the end, I'm just going to use the paper and just stick it like a sticker. So I'm writing in the balance at the end of the year, which I don't really have that number yet, just in case I use my card again. I want to be exact. So I'm writing in my Y and X axis or whatever we call this. On the bottom, I'm going to write the months of the year or just the letter. And on the left-hand side will be the amount. So I'm writing in all the months of the year. And each month will be 4. You can do this as you wish, but for me, it ended up being 4 squares per month. So each month was separated by 4 squares. I estimated it, and then I made then I realized I had to add another square to make it 4. And then I'm filling in all the information of how much I made, which I have next to me. You don't see that, but I have all the information next to me printed out. Not printed out, written out. So I'm putting them into the chart. Now, if I wasn't making a video on this, I would have just gone in with pen. I wouldn't have started with pencil. So it's taking a little longer than usual. But if you want to try this at home, it really doesn't take that long at all. It took me longer because I wrote it out with pencil first. But really, once you get the hang of this, you could probably do this without writing everything out in pencil first. And it doesn't take long. So I'm using these. I'm going to stick these down on the front. I do like the 2021. And it's because it's orange, I'm going to keep that theme of yellow and orange instead of green and red to track the amount for earnings and spendings. So the yellow will be everything that I've earned. And on the left-hand side, I went all the way to 6K because I did earn a lot of money a few months and not so much. As you can tell, I'm a teacher. I never earn any money in August, so that is really low. That's when I go on vacation. And so there's nothing for the month of August there, which is pretty sad. I hate to see no yellow in August. And then I will go with orange and how much I spend. And that will go right next to it so I can get a feel right away of how much I spend versus how much I earn. And there we go. And I think it looks really cool together. August, you see, it's a lot compared to how much I've earned. And there we go. And again, this is just my personal private account, not my joint one at all. I don't like anybody getting into my business, which is why I like to have my own account. So I'm erasing out all these pencil lines, which again, if I wasn't doing this for the camera, I wouldn't have used pencil before. So this would have been another step to eliminate. I would have just gone right in and done it directly onto the page with the pen. But if you want to be careful, you can take that extra step and be safe about it. But I hate erasing marks. Not my favorite thing. All right, so now, after this, sorry about my head getting into the camera, I'm going to put these numbers in 2021. And if you use a sticker, it's even easier, but these aren't stickers. I just cut it with that's just regular paper from my Cricut machine. So I'm going to use some adhesive that I recently got at Michael's that I'm absolutely in love with. It's this stick. It has a fine tip. It's a glue pen, a fine tip glue pen. On the back is like a sponge, a little sponge here. So I'm going to use that sponge portion to put down the numbers for 2021. And you don't need a lot of glue. It's just paper. And I love my little tweezers. I'd rather these were stickers, but I didn't want to spend, I figured it was quicker to cut out numbers with my Cricut than it would be to find the perfect color and size of numbers for this project. So I'm really loving my Cricut. And maybe you'll see in the future I'll start using my Cricut to make stickers more for my planner, for actual planning. We'll see if that happens. So I'm getting out my budget book. And I believe there was a budget review sticker that I wanted to use. Yes, there's one, but it's green. I wanted one that was like orange or, yikes, it's not there. See where it says budget review? That's the sticker I wanted to use, but I didn't want to use green. So I went to another book and I found a yellow one that I'm going to put. There we go. Put budget review right under. And that's going to look really good there. I like this is very clean. You can see the information pretty clearly. And there's a little calculator to put on the side just for fun. And this is going to go at the end of my planner to round out the planner in my little finance section. So if you have any questions, just leave a comment in the comment section below and I'll try to get back to you. And so this is my finished product. There's my year in review and there's a more detailed view of my December spending. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. You can catch me on Instagram at Twinkle Plans Her Day. Thank you so much for watching.